you're a shareholder. Got to start with this. How did you vote, and what did you think of the overall outcome?
Well, the overall outcome, I was not terribly surprised by. This was definitely going to. There are a couple question marks, but I think most of the people thought that they were going to at least eke out a victory. We still don't have the numbers. Personally, I had been trying to figure out exactly how I was going to think about both of these issues. I think for me, I never was a particularly big fan of the reincorporation to Texas for reasons I can tell you, and I voted against that. The pay package issue, I think, was a difficult one. I ambivalently voted against it, but there are pretty good arguments in either direction.
All right, a lot of issues to kind of chew on here. One's obviously just corporate governance. Also, number two, the risk reward. There was suggestions that Elon Musk might leave the company if he doesn't get the money. Like, what would that do to the price? What would that do to shareholder value? How do you see the judge viewing this vote? And what do you think the final outcome is going to be?
Well, the vote itself is not clearly going to have any immediate effect. The fact of the matter is, at least from a legal perspective, this was a vote that, probably, at least under conventional thinking, was a little bit too little, a little bit too late. 5 years after the very breach of fiduciary duties that it took the judge herself to find in January occurred, and this vote occurred only because of that vote. So the usual line of thinking is that you got to get this right the first time, or at least fix it quickly, and this came along a little bit too late. On the other hand, it's going to be really hard to ignore the mandate of Tesla stockholders, particularly to the extent that this vote looks like it's a reasonable reflection of their collective choice. And I think that probably, it's not going to hurt Tesla, let's put it that way, and it probably will help Tesla and Mr. Musk either in trying to convince the judge to change her mind, or I think probably more likely to parlay this vote along with an appeal to the Delaware Supreme Court. There are several parts of the judge's opinion that certainly had to sort of go out there and make a stand on things that had not been clear before, and it's possible that Tesla might use this vote as a way to help convince the Delaware Supreme Court that maybe they should reverse. Now, I should note that this case is still hasn't been subject to a finalized ruling by the judge, because she still has to hear something about attorney's fees.
That's something our Phil LeBeau has really highlighted, the fact that the vote happened, but it doesn't mean he's actually going to get the money. There's still some more legal wrangling to go. I want to go to something that we teased, a wild card that you said has been underreported, and which you call the bromance between Elon Musk and former President Trump. Trump obviously in the news, visiting Capitol Hill for the first time in several years since January the 6th. Where's the risk? We all know that the former president isn't a big fan of EVs, but what's the risk that you think that people aren't really assessing right now?
Well, this has been kind of an evolving situation, but President Trump and former President Trump has been sort of an opponent of governmental sort of support of the EV industry, notwithstanding the fact that Tesla is an American producer and has been obviously been making great strides over the last 5 to 10 years in this area. The fact that the relationship between Mr. Trump and Mr. Musk has seemed to become much more cordial, I think probably does have some bearing on how big is the political risk that should Mr. Trump take office, he's going to continue to oppose the EV industry. This may actually create at least a crack in the door for companies like Tesla, and maybe even the rest of the American side EV industry to bypass some of that downside political risk that I think has always been thought to be quite salient if Mr. Trump is reelected to office. Now, there's a lot more to go down this road, but it does seem to me that that one of the biggest upsides of keeping Mr. Musk engaged at Tesla, keeping him vested in the company, may well be having to do with trying to manage this political risk, which I think has always been a little bit of a 600-pound gorilla in the room.